the This Is Metal Show. My name is Jason Jayrock Hughes, and we got with us today Robby Lochner and Tony Montana. And this is part 2 of our Jack Russell tribute episode. And we have the guys along because they're very close with Jack. And so we wanted to have them share their memories of Jack. So I guess we'll start with you, Tony, because you knew Jack the longest. So like I was telling everybody else, you go back with Jack. You first played with him in the original Great White. So talk a little bit about how you guys first met and any memories you have of Jack.
Wow, how we first met. Yeah. Well, I didn't meet Jack until well after the audition process, because he's not a big rehearsal kind of a guy. So I would met the other members first, and then eventually Jack showed up, and it was just kind of business as usual. We were just trying to get things together, make sure that we had a solid group of guys that were going to go out and get some work done.
That's fun. Now, how about you, Robby? Now, of course, as I shared, you were Jack's right-hand man in Jack Russell's Great White. You were there with him from the very beginning of that band. You obviously were probably a fan of Jack Russell, like all of us, but what do you remember from the very first time you met Jack?
The very first time I met him was through Derek Pontier. He was a former drummer that had played with Jack with Great White, I don't know, early 2000s. And I'd met Derek and Dario Seixas. They came to a jam I was doing at NAMM, and we kind of hit it off, and they came up and played, and we played together. I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. And exchanged numbers. I knew Dario, but didn't know Derek. But then Derek had called and said, hey, I'm going to go out to see Jack in the desert. You want to come out with me? And he was talking about forming the Shelter Dogs. Like, oh yeah, let's go out there and check it out. So we went out there, and he wasn't in any shape to do a band. Mm-hmm. But we hung out that evening, and then I went back the following week, hung out with him all day, and he was in no condition to do a band. So kind of put it on, it's just like, whatever. That was it. That's how we initially met. But then months later, Dario called me up and said, hey, Jack's doing better. He's living in Redondo Beach on a boat. Come on out and hang out. So I went and hung out, and it was funny because I walk in, and he's got a big screen, and he's got me on the screen from one of my videos playing this Can of Whoop Ass thing. And then he turns and he looks up at me and he goes, I kind of remember you. And I'm thinking, wow, we only hung out all day on the Saturday and one other time. That's really kind of how it started.
I'm going to throw it to you, Tom.
Sure. So Tony, I just got a question. What was it like touring with him? How was he get along with touring? We've heard a lot of great things about him, so you'd probably know the most about him.
Well, there's different kinds of touring, that
sure.
And back in those early days, we were all stuck in a bus for months and months at a time with each other, and months, in buses and planes all the time. And so that was kind of different dynamic, in those days, Jack was very pretty straight-laced most of the time, because he was very concerned about his performance and his voice, and there was a lot at stake. There's a lot of it was a big responsibility at the time, big venues, big tours, and that kind of thing. So we were all together all the time, and after a while, everybody gets on everybody's nerves. But fast forward, 20 years or whatever, or 30 years, and we were doing fly dates. So you just kind of see the guys on the weekend, and it's cool, man. It's a different existence, and it's a lot less stressful, I think. It's more stressful in other ways, but and he had his demons for sure, and we saw plenty of that. But for the most part, we just got out there and just try to get the work done, get out and make the shows happen.
Yep, nice. Robby, I got a question for you. What is like one of your favorite memories of being on stage with him?
Oh boy,
I'm sure there's probably a lot of them, but
there is a lot of them.
Yep.
There's, I mean, the one that pops into mind first was when we were playing in Dallas, and we're doing Save Your Love, and it was before that, leading up to that. There's a girl that's just right in front of him trying to get his attention. His attention is just crazy, whatever. He's not paying any attention. And then when we start doing Save Your Love, she climbs up onto the stage and she leans back, puts her hands back. She's got a skirt on, no panties, and she's showing him the business. And he's sitting there singing, and he's just singing and trying not to pay attention. And I'm playing, but I'm looking at him and I'm looking at her, and I keep looking back and forth. And it was kind of frightening what happened. She slipped and she fell off the stage, and she landed on her head. And I could feel it through the stage. It hit the cement, just kaboom. And I was like, oh, man. She got up all dazed and ran out of the club, probably to the hospital. And I was looking at Jack, and he was kind of like, he didn't really even pay that much attention. I'm like, wow, that was something else.
Robby, I believe that story is in his book here, so I urge people
really?
to check that out. Yeah, I read some about that.
Huh.
That's funny. Hey, Leith, go ahead. You guys got a question for these guys?
Oh yeah, I mean, Robby brought up the "Save Your Love." That's probably one of my favorite like ballad songs ever. I mean, it's just one of those songs that has a catch to it. So it's kind of funny because I read that book as well, and I was reading a lot of the different stories that were in there, and it's one perspective and other perspectives, and I know Tom brought up like what's the best memory you have of those things. But I want to bring back something maybe to, I know Tony's been with the band for much longer probably, and so in the earlier days, you were talking about the tour bus stuff and how all that stuff was there, and that. So you said it was a shift. So dynamically, I imagine that the personalities between each other probably kind of leveled off, is what I'm gathering from you, and that there was more of a thing. So would you say it became more of a brotherhood, or brotherly, like getting together with friends when you did the shows later on than it was in the beginning? Or
Yeah, most definitely. We would transition to what I would call more of a fly date kind of organization, right? Where we're specifically going out and doing two shows or three shows or one show, whatever. And yeah, it was more relaxed. I think it's more relaxed in a lot of ways. The flying part is definitely no fun, but yeah, I mean, the fact is that I spent more time in Jack Russell's Great White than I did with the original Great White. I spent 5 years with that band on the road, and then 10 years plus. Rob did 13 years, I think, but Jack, I think I was at about 12 years by the time when he passed away. So we've spent a lot of time, done a lot of gigs, and it was definitely a more it's just more relaxed. It's not such a pressure cooker as when there's the record labels are involved, the agents are really on top of you, and the management, and everybody's, in that little space of 5 years of time, it was intense. Every second of your day is accounted for. Yeah, because they're trying to generate as much money out of you as possible.
Wow.
Yeah, and just to switch to Robby real quick. Reading the book, it seemed like Jack had a really cool personality at times. Like he seemed to care a lot about the fans, and is that something you sensed?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He was really good with people. I mean, I can only honestly say one time he wasn't super friendly to somebody, but I mean, and thousands of engagements, always just really, really cordial and just really appreciating everybody. He was really good that way. The one time it happened, it was an acoustic show we did, and it was kind of a little silly, but it was just being him, and we're doing a little meet and greet, and some girl walks up and she comes to me and she goes, "It's so nice that you get to play music with your dad." And he turned and he looked over me and he goes,
"Oh wow."
And he was pissed, and he looked at me and goes, "I don't look that old and you don't look that young." And then he took her thing and signed it and slammed the pen down. I went, "Whoa, shoot." I was like, shh, don't never say no.
Wow.
But people sometimes they thought I was his son. They thought we looked alike. I'm like, I don't see that, but whatever. What am I going? What am I going to say?
Wow, that's funny.
And, you know, oddly, the next night we played another show and somebody walked up and said the same thing and he didn't hear it. And I was just like, no, don't say that.
That's funny. That's a good one.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask Tony now. You're mentioned a lot in the book, obviously, because you worked with Jack for so many years. I was reading when you first joined back in the day. You know, it says it was kind of a whirlwind because you joined the band and like 5 days later you're on the set of a Lady Red Light video, and you're like, it's a major production. It's the first time I'd ever really done anything major like that, and we're taking off on a major tour. So I mean, you were kind of just thrown into it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But I mean, that's the nature of this business, though. You know, things happen, and sometimes it happens, you know, quickly. You know,
Yeah.
I've been in similar situations in you know, where you have just, you know, a week or so to prepare, and you got to hit the stage, got to hit the ground running. You know.
Yeah. And I got to say, I got to let everybody know these guys are equally talented in their own rights. I mean, they're playing currently in the Once Bitten band, which is basically Jack Russell's Great White, but they obviously had to change the band's name, and they're going to carry on performing that music. So we thank you guys for that. But I got to ask Tony, because I don't many people know you're a multi-instrument. Like when you first joined Great White, you replaced the original bass player. I know these days you switch off between bass and guitar. So the fact that you and Robby as guitar players have played both these, you know, you're familiar with the guitar parts, I guess what I'm saying. You must have amazing conversations back and forth.
Oh, well, you know, unfortunately, I do this too now.
Yeah.
Had to learn how to play piano for some of the songs. Yeah, you know, we it's interesting to go back to the original tracks and kind of analyze what went on there. And you know, I have a great respect for Mark's playing back on those albums.
Sure.
He did a great job with what he had to work with. And looking back at some of those live shows that we did back in those days, had a great tone, you know, great attack. And I remember a lot of the gear, you know, back those days, we used to carry a lot of gear with us, man, you know, full, you know, amp heads and cabinets and all that stuff. And it's such a luxury to be able to do that.
Yeah.
These days, you know, Rob and I have to jump on stage and there's rented gear everywhere we go. So I'm a Marshall that either it's a Marshall that's been well taken care of, or maybe not so well taken care of. And, you know, you got to squeeze what you can out of it. And, yeah, we do have to put our heads together every once in a while to say, okay, well, how are we going to attack this one, man?
Okay, I'm going to throw it back to you, Tom, but I wanted to ask you first, Tom. I seen, you know, a video of Tony's band, Shadow of a Thrill. I'm curious, what did you think? Because he's the lead singer in the band and he does a great job. So I want to be sure to mention that.
Oh,
yes. That was the song. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did see that. I can't read my own writing. Just something. Just enough. Yes, there.
That's it.
Oh,
That's it.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one. Okay.
Yeah.
That was actually really cool too. Before we get into that song, I just want to make a comment. I remember touring myself back in the 80s. We were in a van with 6 guys and a fucking trailer pulling behind us, and that's where we slept. I mean, we were starving artists, and then we went to the tour bus, and now the fly-in shows, like I'm flying back out to the West Coast. I love them because we fly in, we got hotel rooms, they cover and everything. So to me, I'm a fly-in guy, go in there for 5 days and leave. And I love that they put the gear for us, but you're right. Sometimes it's shit, sometimes it's good. But your song Just Enough is really cool. What was the theme behind that? What was the theme behind that? That was just really cool too.
It's just kind of loosely based on being in a relationship where you're just barely getting enough out of it to stay in it, right? Just enough. You know, so that's the whole premise behind that. But that, yeah, I appreciate that you guys got out
and Shadow Thrill. Are you guys working on any new music?
Sure, all the time. Yeah. All the time. We'll have another single out soon, and yeah, it's been a real juggling act because you know, the whole time that we have been doing Jack Russell's Great White, that's always been a priority.
Sure.
And I would suspect going forward, once we get out and doing shows with the Once Bitten band, that's going to be very similar. Because
Robbie, what can you tell us about, what can you guys share with us about the Once Bitten band? I've seen that there's a date coming up sometime in January. Want to talk about that upcoming show?
Yeah, that's the celebration of Jack's legacy, life, music. That'll be January 14th, Tuesday, at the Whiskey A Go-Go. And we don't have a lot of details yet. We're working on. There's a team of 8 people working on it.
Okay.
Guys that Tony knew that he brought in from back in the day.
Oh wow.
Industry people, and then Tony, myself, and Dan with these other people. Well, then I brought Nancy Sales in the picture. So, but he brought in all these other people, and we're all getting together, putting our heads together, and figuring out how to do it to make it like we want it to be a really special event.
So now, is it true? I've heard Andrew Freeman's the singer. Is that official or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
that's pretty good. And because I know you guys had done a tribute show, I think last August with Terry, and we had him and Ken Marion on our show a couple of weeks back, and they just shared great stories about Jack too. And Terry's just a super guy. It's amazing. You never hear stories like that. The guy that actually replaced somebody, they become like the best of friends.
Yeah. That was cool. Yeah, we did that one show with Terry. I mean, it's possible we do more. I mean, we're open to whatever, It's just it kind of fell into place with Andrew and it's
he's a great singer in his own right. I mean, again, he's with Last in Line, he's still a little under the radar. I think he's one of those singers. He can sing those great high notes like Jack, and he can sing like an angel at the same time.
Yeah, he's really good.
Well, we saw a real opportunity to create a band that goes out and is still celebrating the music of the band and Jack and the legacy of Great White, whatever. And the fact is that there's 3 singers out there that the other guys have just kind of moved on from, that are all great singers, great performers. And the truth is, you know what? They're welcome on our stage too. Mitch, sure. Andrew, Terry, they're all seem to be pretty good guys. And Andrew, we've had the most time with Andrew, and he's a hoot, man. It's you got to have that. You got to have a sense of camaraderie, right? Sure. And you got to have
only thing
you got to be a cool hand.
He's a cool hand. Years ago, I saw the Dio Disciples, which is basically Ronnie Dio's band, the surviving band members, and then they had Oni Logan and Tim Ripper Owens come out and sing Ronnie's songs. They would trade off on the vocals, and it was really just something special. Like it was almost like Electric Church. I mean, they had the audience on their feet.
Yeah, well, we'll do the same thing. We're really looking forward to doing that this year. This coming year.
How about you, Leithal X? You have any questions for the guys?
No, I mean, I think that the legacy is going to live on because the music never dies, and you guys doing that camaraderie thing with everybody and bringing in whoever you can to kind of celebrate the life of Jack, I think is a really positive, good thing, and only good things can come from that. And I think fans are just going to eat that up.
Yeah, for everybody who is listening and who watches this, January 14th at the Whiskey A Go-Go, we're going to do a release about the pre-release of tickets for VIPs and special fans. And I would say if you're thinking about coming out from wherever across the country, I would say to do that, because if you show up day of, it's gonna be a madhouse.
It's gonna be sold out probably long before that.
Yeah, I got to share with you guys, Robbie and Tony. I had an opportunity over the years to interview Jack twice. Never met the man in person, talked to him over the phone, but I can tell you, the one thing I was left with, like both times, is I just forget about interviewing one of my heroes. It was like I was just left with what a great down-to-earth guy he was. He was super friendly, and that's what I was left with. And so obviously when I heard Jack had passed, I thought we got to do something. We want to see if we can get some of his bandmates come on and talk about him, because that's what I was left with. Forget about what a great talent Jack was. My experience was he was just a great human being all around.
He was there. Yeah, he was a really good guy. A lot of great times, a lot of miles behind, and in that traveling, you've got to hang out a lot and just, make the best of it. And
Sure.
he was a character at times,
Oh,
especially in
man.
airport. Man, in airports. Oh boy, that guy is funny.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Tony, one of the videos you were a part of back in the day was, of course, the "Once Bitten, Twice Shy" video. I mean, that's become a classic tune. I mean, of course, it was a classic tune before, but I mean, I think Jack Russell and you guys, you really put your stamp on that. And people that had never heard the song before that, it's a hit now. They think of it as a great White song.
Well, we got to play it every night, right?
Yep. That's right.
So
every
I
night.
guess another good question for you guys is, and it's probably a hard one, but what are some tunes that you feel like is Once Bitten that you really just gotta, kind of like, we cannot do that song, or we have to do it,
I don't think there's any that we can't do, really.
It's probably
Yeah,
the
now-
hardest part is coming up with the set list, like what do we leave out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably more like it. Now it's kind of like we're looking at it going, what do we want to do? Because before it was all Jack's decisions. Everything was his decision. What songs we're going to play, whatever. Now we're going, well, now it's kind of our decision. What do we want to do? Obviously, we need to play the hits, right?
Sure.
But we want to pick some other stuff too. Maybe, who knows, something off the first EP or something,
Yeah. How about you, Tom? You have any questions for the guys?
Hey, absolutely. So I wish I was going to be out there the 14th. I'm going to be out there the following week to play the Metal Hall of Fame, but I'd love to see you guys' show. But so do you have any other shows booked for the Once Bitten band?
Right now, we only have one in April, but our agent is working on more. So I suspect there'll be more coming.
To tell you, Tom, that Robby, also like Tony, super talented. I mean, he's much more of a great guitar shredder, and that I sing you that song he did free. He go check out Robby Lochner on YouTube, because
I did see that. Yes, I seen that.
He's got all these great tunes. He sings and he writes. He does it all, and he kind of hides his other talent. But I urge people to go on YouTube and check out Robby Lochner, because you'll just be blown away.
But
That's
we're probably
awesome,
running
man.
out of time here, aren't we?
Yeah,
Jason?
I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. We've enjoyed having you, as always. It's
Thank
a
you
blast.
for having us, man.
Yeah, and I urge people to get this too. A great read. I mean, I read through this in just a couple of days. And Tony and Robby, you guys are mentioned in there.
Yeah.
Great.
Take care, guys.
Hey guys,
All right.
I'll be in touch with you guys. Jason,
Cheers,
give me
man.
contact.
Cool.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
again, dudes.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.